Hello and welcome back to The Wargamer. In this tutorial I'll be showing you some simple conversions and kit bashing that you can apply to your Primaris Space Marines to make them represent the chapters of the Imperial Fists or the Black Templars. The first step in converting our Primaris Marines is to file down the chest symbol. Now this is because we want the armour to be a little bit more slab-like, representing a Mark III in its appearance. Now you can do this in one of two ways. You could either use a hobby knife, which is a little bit quicker but can be a little bit more risky if you're not super comfortable with using the hobby knife. Alternatively, you could use a hobby file and just use this to sand down the emblem from the chest. After filing down the majority of the emblem, you may find there are still some areas that you need to remove, and I would recommend using a hobby knife for these areas. It's a little bit easy to control and you can use this to cut away some of the remaining items. You can also use the hobby knife to smooth down the surface by applying it in a perpendicular position to the surface and gently dragging it across. Once finished, you should have a nice and even surface on the chest of the Primaris, and I'll be using this basis for both the Imperial Fist and the Black Templar conversions in this video. The next area of conversion on this miniature will be the head, and for this I'll be using the Mark III helmet for both the Imperial Fist and also the Black Templar conversions. Now this works well for both the Imperial Fists and the Black Templars. For the Imperial Fist it gives a much sturdier armour appearance, perfect for siege specialists, and for the Black Templars we get this effect that it's almost like a knight helm, which again plays into the Crusader theme that the Templars have. You should have no problem applying the Mark III helmet to the Primaris armour, as the neck area does have a depression which the helmet can sit in. You may however find that you need to angle the helmet slightly upwards in order to get the optimum position. This next step is solely for the Imperial Fist conversions, and it's used to add a little bit more flair to some of your specialist characters in your Imperial Fist. Now I'm going to be using the head crest found on the Mark III kit and applying it to the top of the helmet. So with the Imperial Fist looked at, the next step is to apply some conversions to our Black Templars. Now this time I'm using the same basis as before by removing the chest emblem and also swapping out the helmet for a Mark III helmet. However, I'm going to be applying some additional detailing on this miniature in the form of some chains. The Black Templars are known for chaining their weapons to their hands so that they're unable to release them until the battle is finished. And for this, I'm going to be using a 1.5mm chain. Now, this chain was bought from Zinge Industries, but there's lots of different manufacturers that you could find the same size chain from. Now for this step, we're going to be needing some superglue in order to stick the chains to the miniature. Add a small dot of superglue to somewhere out of the way, such as underneath the shoulder pad. Then dangle the chain into the glue and hold until it's fixed in position. With one end of the chain fixed in position, I'll now be wrapping the chain around the arm of the Primaris. At this stage, I would recommend trying out a few different configurations of the chain to see what you're most happy with. Once you are happy with the configuration of the chain, you can now use some hobby clippers to cut it at the desired length. Remember that it's always best to make the chain a little bit longer than you might need it, as you can always cut this down later on. Once we have the desired length of chain, the next step is to glue it to the weapon itself. Now for the sword, I'll be applying it to the bottom of the hilt, but if you're gluing it to any weapons, I would recommend gluing it to the bottom of the pistol grip. When gluing at this stage, I would recommend using some tweezers, as it can get a little bit fiddly and you don't want to glue your fingers to the miniature. At this stage, the two ends of the chain are now affixed to the miniature. However, the chain is still very loose, which will make it difficult to paint later on. Now we can fix this problem by applying some superglue to the chain links themselves. Now you don't need to apply an awful lot at this stage, as it just needs to be enough to fix the chain links together. For some of the more fiddly areas, I would recommend using a toothpick or cocktail stick with just a small amount of superglue on the tip of it. You can then use this cocktail stick to poke the superglue into some of the more fiddly areas. With the chains completed, the next step is to start applying some more adornments to the Black Templar himself. Now if like me you don't have access to the Black Templar upgrade sprue, you can instead use some generic purity seals from pretty much any Space Marine kit. Now these purity seals are a really easy and quick way of adding some additional adornments to your Black Templar that fit with the background of the Templars themselves. And here we have the completely assembled Black Templar. As you can see, you don't need to apply a lot of additional items in order to give him that Black Templar feel. You can also enhance this in the painting stages by applying some scriptures and transfers to the miniature as well. So that concludes this tutorial on converting your Primaris Marines to represent the Imperial Fists and their successors, the Black Templars. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below, along with your suggestions for other chapters you would like to see conversions for in the future. I also want to say a huge thank you to Alchemists Workshops for providing me with the miniatures used in this tutorial. If you're looking for up to 25% off the RRP of your Warhammer miniatures, you should definitely check those guys out, and I'll include a link to their web store in the description below. I would also like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. It's you guys who make these videos possible. And if you're interested in also supporting me, you should definitely check out my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the description below. From there, you can donate to me from as little as $1 a month, which will just really help me in producing future content. So all that's left to say is thanks for watching and goodbye.